Well, always toward the end of the summer, it gets a little bit of slowdown. And some of the stories, even though it has been a busy August, we start to slow down a bit before we get into the fall. We're about a week away before we see Labor Day come into play. So, but before we start talking about this, thank you for those who have subscribed to the channel. Thank you for smashing on that subscription, smashing on that like. Thank you very much for helping us here at Man with a Show and Cuticast TV, because we're showing them that you want this type of programming here on YouTube. It's very important. Anytime you're on this, hit that like button, smash on it all the time, because basically that will at least help us move up in the ranks. It'll assist us. So, like I said, a lot been going on. D23, we had the expo was over the weekend. We did discuss a lot of it, and there's one more. This is one more piece we're going to discuss. We said we're going to have a little additive. The reason why we didn't throw this all together, we didn't want to put too much on an episode or do a part 3 or 4. Also, we're taping this a lot in advance, so you'll notice us talk. Maybe some of the stuff that we talked about is in the past. Some things that may have changed, and like I said, we will update these videos, do updates toward them, because we are literally, in fact, if anything, by now most of us are going to be away. The only one that's working right now is the ones handling our social media and the editor, because right now it's just we've already shot a lot of shows ahead. We're a lot ahead right now at the moment. But also just to let you know, the next couple of days, the Wednesday episode, the Thursday episode will be only one episode per day, and the same thing with next week, the Monday through Thursday will only be one episode, because we know that week is it's going to be a quiet week. So even though we got some great stories on that, but we're going to be back in the week after with a lot of stuff coming through. Our fall premiere of Man with a Show, and also piping toward the 20 of September for the premiere of American Asylum on Friday nights at 8. So, a lot going on. So, looking at this, and I said, and I just continues to have tears in my eyes. I have never seen as bad as a trailer. I've seen some bad trailers, and I've been in the business a long time. I've worked at many ins and out of this business. I worked in companies where they've edited trailers. I know people who make these trailers. I have a friend who does some work with the Japanese firms at Toei, Toho, and he does there, and he's done some classic movies also that are being remastered, and he does a great job at some of these. And most of you have seen it, these trailers as they come out, because there's so much restoration that's going on a lot of the older movies, but also a lot of the current films. There's some bad ones. You see a lot of bad ones on YouTube, but when you have a fixture like Star Wars, I grew up with Star Wars. I said this before in another video. I went to one of the first screenings of the original 77 Star Wars, and my mom and my brother, we all went together as a family. We went to go see it. We loved it. Years later, we went to go see Empire, Standard Online on Empire. And those are the days when, when you're looking at that, the multiplexes were just starting. But let's tell you, even in New York City, we had mostly single movie theaters. So when you went to go see Star Wars, you saw it on a great screen, but you saw it at one theater. It wasn't you had to wait online for hours. I don't remember how long we waited, but I know the original Star Wars New Hope, we waited more than an hour. More than an hour, I could say that. And the lines were like, whew, it was all the way back. because it had a great trailer. That had a great trailer. Empire had a great trailer. Jedi was a so. The original three, 1, 2, 3, on there, they were okay trilogies. Also, Rogue One was an excellent trailer for that particular one itself, and then afterwards, it started to decline. When you have someone like J.J. Abrams and other people working with this that just don't know Star Wars. I mean, really. I mean, they are just ruining, the fandom. And now you have The Rise of the Skywalker has come out. And when you look at it, it's like, holy shit, what the freak are they doing? I mean, we're not going to show any of the video on this because I know, I'll probably get knocked on this, but I don't even want to bother you with it. If you want to go and see the video itself, go check it out online, Rise of Skywalker, and you'll understand a lot of what I've been talking about. But even with the photo that I used here, a lot was in there that just literally, I mean, one of the big things that I just want to say is, who was not going to training class for sword training? Because the lightsaber fight that Kylo and Rey were having on what looks like parts of the Death Star. I mean, we'll get back to that part of it alone. But I mean, the fight itself was just unimpressive. It was ridiculous, and that lightsaber at the end that she had. I mean, there's some dangers on that one alone. I can make a lot of jokes on that one, but when you look at it and you see that the choreography is horrendous in the trailer, what's the movie going to be like completely? They have a scene in there, where they're in the desert. It looks like a freaking Burning Man festival, and the looks, the texture. I mean, we talked about the poster, and I said about the poster that, what do they do this on Photoshop 10 seconds later? And then we find out is that the Emperor is a toy that they've used in the design of it. I mean, it was nothing original. They couldn't hire the guy that did the Empire Strikes Back poster. They couldn't hire any of the people that did the previous posters for this. They just drew something together. I said, oh my God, I could have put something together better for them. I mean, it is just ridiculous when you look at everything on there. And then, the trap part is that, it's like, oh, is Rey going to fall to the dark side? You saw the end of that. It could fall either way on the ending of this to give that. And, most of the time this is a red herring. It could be either a dream or something of the nature, and, stretching out just a little bit there, folks. When you look at when they create someone evil into the series, you don't want to really show it. You just want to give hints of it. And here they're just emphasizing on it. And then you had the red eyes on C-3PO saying that he might be possessed by the Emperor or somebody. And it's just like, oh my God, what are they doing? What if they they've just literally flipping? They threw together a movie that just literally said, hey, just throw it, just give this, and that. And then to advertise it, and see, this is the one that gets me. They want when they created Galaxy's Edge, they want nothing to do with the past. They wanted nothing to do with Vader. They wanted nothing to do with New Hope or Rogue One or any of this nature. But yet, when you get to the trailer of this, what do they show? They show the original previous movies, and they segue into the trailer, the new trailer. And, I see some guys on the line, they're like, hey, yay, it's happy. Look at that. Look at what's going on. Look at this is going on. And you're like, no, that's not what the fans wanted. And tell me, when you look at the photo that I left up here, in the trailer, it looks like they're on the remnants of the Death Star. I mean, how is that possible if the Death Star exploded, just literally ionized in space? How did any part survive to begin with? I mean, we may be wrong on that, and that's another red herring itself. But it does look like there's a turret off to the side, and, and a lot of other things that are there. But like I said, and then you have the Emperor coming back. It's supposed to be Vader, if that is correct. And I'm just speechless to this, and this is one of the reasons why we decided not to put any of the video up on this, really, because to torture ourselves again on the death of Star Wars, and I'm saying this is the death of Star Wars. I could say I could be wrong. But looking at this trailer, how poorly made this trailer was, I could have done a better trailer. And then you have Carrie Fisher in there as Leia. And that this was, this is just added into there. I mean, what part does she play in this? I don't know. It's probably not going to be much because, she passed away. And I mean, when you have even Mark Hamill saying that it's not the same Star Wars anymore, you got to say to yourself, you hope Clone Wars comes out good. They did a good job on Clone Wars, and you hope they did a good job on Mandalorian, because now you begin to have doubts on those two items, because and why is people keep hiring this guy? He's ruined most of the fandom. He's ruined Star Trek. He's ruined Star Wars. Now he's on his way. He's getting some deals with Warner and DC to work over there as well. Don't give this guy any more money and contracts to do these things, because he is just literally killing the fandom industry. Whatever he's touched has died. And I'm just most certain now, unless somebody, George Lucas needs to jump back out and grab this all back. Or somebody needs to buy this out from underneath Disney. And just say, listen, we're going to take this back and rebuild it the way it's, and I said, they should have done the novels the way the novels, Shadows of the Empire and all the others, they should have, instead of Resistance that animated, they should have done the sequel to Rebels, which it ended very good. They should have continued the story on, because that was a great little mini series, that was on the Disney Channel. They just don't know how to handle it, and they don't have the right people in the right places. This just hurts. It hurts everything. It's hurt the fans, and overall they think they may not be losing money. Disney's in trouble right now. Disney's in big trouble. I mean, they're they have a site starting up in November, and they expect to have all this Star Wars stuff for there, and Marvel stuff, and the damage that's going on. I mean, you have Spider-Man that's already been pulled back from Sony on the other end. That could be either a plus or minus for them. It'll go either way. You have an SEC violations investigation that's probably going to be coming through. And you're building a hotel that's going to cost people to stay there $3,000 just for the couple of nights that you have on there, and that's way over budget on that. To charge that for people. I mean, for a Future World, Westworld type of experience that they're putting together in Disney. And on the Marvel side, you're hiring people that are inexperienced to both the TV movie end and also on the comic book end. And you're killing the comic book industry on there as well. Everything that's been touched. And I know we're ranting here, and when I look at the perspective that this has hurt you know, I loved Star Wars, and I really truly do love watching the original trilogies, Rogue One, the new stuff. No, I mean I love Clone Wars, and I hated Resistance, and I still read some of the books some of the time. One of my favorites is Ahsoka Tano. I love her character on there, how they developed it. That's stories that you can develop, characters you can develop. You created, Star Wars created a character like Ahsoka Tano and her storyline and all that on there. I don't know if you meant it to be just like a minimal secondary character. She became a very popular character in the series, and you were able to move her into the newer Rebel series from Clone Wars. And now you're going to see more of her in the last season, and I hope they did justice to her on that. I hope so. Because Rise of the Skywalker, I'm sorry, I may see it, but I'm not going to pay to see it. I'm not going to plop down, what is it, $10, $12 to go see it in an IMAX, sit down, pay another $20 for food and stuff like that. Star Wars, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm totally done. And this is the same thing with Star Trek. Also, I'm done with it. They've destroyed a part of my childhood that I always look forward to. And my grandma, oh God, God rest her soul. One time, she caught a bit of pieces of certain things like Star Trek and Star Wars when I was a young kid, and my mom couldn't figure out why my grandma, here's my grandma in her 60s, was watching an episode of Star Trek on TV when they used to play it a lot on TV, and this time we were getting cable, so we were able to get Star Wars and stuff like that at the time, and she couldn't understand why she was watching that as well. Like she nicknamed Star Trek. She didn't call Star Trek by Star Trek. She said she used to call in Spanish El Show de los Monstruos, which translated in English is the Show of the Monsters, because the episode was Arena that she was watching. It was with the Gorn creature. That was like our first taste of Star Trek. And I tell you, once in a while, because see, the thing is, my mother worked at night, and we got put to bed when we were kids early, as kids should be going to bed early. About 11 o'clock, midnight, on Channel 11, New York City, they used to run episodes of Star Trek. And my grandma would stay up and watch it while waiting for her daughter to come home. It's interesting, when you see this. And then now you see all this and they destroy it. They throw in their, politics into there. They said we gotta have a strong woman hero, or strong, particular race person, on this, that. No, write a good story. I keep saying this. If you write a good story, people won't criticize you. You're alienating your core structure of fans. You may say to yourself, I'll still make about maybe $1 billion on there. Right, you'll make $1 billion. But why would you consider making the small chump change and not go for the bigger? Why not go for the $3 billion? You can make a lot more. Remember, one thing about the fandom when it comes to the movies is that, this was in the past. I don't think this is that much now in the present. We would plop down not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 to 5 showings of the same movie. We would go with our friends constantly to go see it over and over and over again. In today's dollars, that's a lot of money. We're talking, let's say average it out $10. That's about $50 per fandom, per fan of Star Wars. You count that up in the end, that's a lot of money. That's a lot more money than $1 billion that you're going to make on just one run of this. And they will buy your merch. They will buy. Let me tell you something. When I was in retail, I used to watch the kids pick up those lightsabers. And the parents be like, don't put I'll have to buy it. And the parents would buy it for them. They'll buy the action figures. You know, they'll buy them. They'll buy the ships. They'll buy the shirts. They'll buy, you know, like once in a while they'll do an addendum comic to it, you know, to continue the storyline in some way or backstory of them. But, you know, now it's like they'll create the backstory, but just to confuse everybody, to explain what's going on. And nobody wants that. You know, they want to see, you know, after Return of the Jedi, they want to see those books on screen. You know? And, you know, now it's pretty much too late now for that. I mean, literally now what you have to do is create a whole new universe on there. And, you know, if you want to create something, if you want to create a new Star Wars, you know, after this whole debacle and stuff like that, wrap it around Rebels. Wrap it around the story of Ezra after the finale of Rebels. You could create a whole new trilogy around that with Ezra and Thrawn. And I think that's possible if it's written right and done right. And not animated. You could probably do it as a live action. But I think most people would enjoy it as an animated. And not on, you know, if you could do Into the Spider-Verse and win an Oscar, you know, Into the Spider-Verse won an Oscar. It was well made. It was really, really well made. And that's Sony. And Sony just grabbed back Spider-Man. And there's going to be an episode we're going to discuss that. You know, maybe Sony wants now to create their own MCU. A Spider-Verse MCU. Who knows? But like I said, I'm just like, the poster's horrible. The trailer's horrible. It leads me to believe the movie is just literally a total dumpster fire. It's not going to be well taken by the fandom. And you already see it on YouTube that all, you know, you hear from Geeks and Gamers, Midnight's Edge, Overlord. They've all literally have thrown this into the garbage with this. We're tired of it. You know, when a guy can sit there and spend $100,000 making a Darth Vader mini movie and do a fantastic job, and it's well liked by George Lucas. That's $100,000 for a few minutes. Can you imagine when you give him a budget of a freaking $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million budget? What can he create from that? Well, before we go any further, comment below. I know this one was a rant. It's a rant, and it is a rant. That's why we didn't show video. I really didn't want to show the video on this. But you know, if you want to go out, go watch the video on the trailer. Go do it. You'll find us also on mindsandgab.com. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, liking, supporting, and sharing the show. It's very important because YouTube is not helping anymore. They're not a help. They're just a danger. You know, they just cow tip, bend the knee. You know, there's so many great creators out there, and they're just starting to erase them one by one by one. So that's why I said supporting and hitting that like is the most important thing. Hit that subscribe button every time. Also, make sure you're still subscribed to us if you're seeing this video, because they're unsubscribing people again. I've had it happen with some of the places I've subscribed to. I've had to resubscribe again. Hit that make sure that subscription button is hit. Make sure that notification bell is hit on properly, so you'll know when we're coming on air. So, tomorrow we got one more. This is the only one we're going to be airing tonight, the 8 o'clock show. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, the next couple of days, this Wednesday, Thursday, we're only doing 8 o'clock. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week will only be 8 o'clock. We will fully return on September 9th with season premieres of Madman with the Show. And September 20th, the American Asylum show will air then as well. So thank you for tuning in to Madman with the Show on Q2Cast TV.